I don't really know how long this video is going to be. It's a very small, insignificant topic that we're going over here, but I did think it was interesting enough to make a video about. So let's go over to Long Island and talk about their coaching situation. As it's been very heavily reported everywhere, the New York Islanders recently fired head coach Barry Trotz, an absolute winner in the National Hockey League, and a guy who has had a profile of success that spans the past few years. Trotz is one of the more respected and dignified coaches in the NHL, and when it comes to his availability on the free agent market, oh, is that the right way to say it? Free agent market? Free coaching market, I guess you could say instead. There are no shortage of teams looking out there for Barry Trotz for their organizations. You have teams like Winnipeg that have already been in conversations with this guy. You have the Vegas Golden Knights who had fired Peter DeBoer. You have the Detroit Red Wings who had fired Jeff Blashill as well. There are a whole bunch of teams, whole bunch of spots open, and Barry Trotz is going to get a job wherever he pleases because he is just that gosh darn good that he demands that level of respect. For the Islanders, though, things hadn't really gone all too great this previous season. After making the conference finals 2 years in a row under Trotz in 2020 and 2021, the most recent year was not really a great one. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to make it seem like, oh, it's only the coach, which is why the Islanders sucked in 21-22. There are a whole bunch of other factors, there are injuries, there are players that departed the team, etc., etc. So, long story short, they weren't as good as they were the previous years. So when Lou Lamoriello went out there and gave Barry Trotz the can, there were some people that said, okay, yeah, the Islanders did not perform well this season, maybe you need a change of scenery, maybe that guy that helps you out is a brand new head coach. Then there were others that were saying, hey, wait a minute, Barry Trotz is Barry freaking Trotz. This is still a guy that has a very good NHL coaching career, and he's likely still going to be able to do his thing over the next few seasons. Man, whatever team's going to get Trotz is going to be in for a treat. Either way, though, there was indeed a little update that we got on the entire Islander situation because after Barry Trotz got fired, the guy that was coming in to replace him as the new head coach of the team was none other than Lane Lambert. Who's Lane Lambert? Well, Lambert is a disciple of Barry Trotz. He has been the assistant to Barry Trotz for a few years now. This is a tweet from Stan Fischler that highlights the Islanders' choice of Lambert as their head coach. Firstly, Lou Lamoriello knows him very well. Secondly, he is a Trotz disciple and won a cup with Barry in Washington. Thirdly, the club needed a younger, fresh face. And number 4, Lambert knows the players inside and out. Rob Taube went out here and said this as well. Lane Lambert coached a handful of games this year behind the bench in Trotz's absence. During that stint, you could see a slight difference in how the Islanders played, especially from an offensive standpoint. Now, we have to remember that this is indeed a thing that happened. There were some games where Barry Trotz was unavailable for the Islanders, and you had Lane Lambert stepping in as the quote-unquote head coach in those scenarios. They actually did win a few games here and there, with Lambert sporting the main role. You also have to acknowledge that Barry Trotz is known for playing a very defensively styled game. The way he plays is kind of why he has a Stanley Cup ring, and it's also why the Islanders were so good in 2020 and 2021 in the postseason before getting eliminated by the Lightning both times. Their defensive game has always been so strong that you could say there's a little bit of a depletion of offense that kind of occurs when you play the Islanders under Trotz. It is a little bit different, though, when Lane Lambert is the guy at the helm rather than Barry himself. And to be fair, Barry went out there and had a whole bunch of great things to say about Lane, and you could even see this on some of the older tweets that we have. Barry Trotz said for years that Lane Lambert was ready to be a head coach in the NHL. Now he's getting his shot. Big shoes to fill. It should be interesting to watch. Lane Lambert said that he spoke to Barry Trotz during his departure as well. He told me that he was hoping that I'd get the job. I spoke to him not too long ago, and he used the words that he was thrilled. So, even though Barry's going out there and getting fired, he's getting the can, he is no longer a part of this team that has taken his protege and made him their number one guy. He's still a good sport about it, and he's saying, yeah, that's awesome, good for you, Lane, happy to see it, you're ready, take this on, I'm thrilled. However, this is what Jeff Merrick said on the Jeff Merrick Show, I believe, talking about the entire situation and why the Islanders decided to do all this stuff now. He discussed on his show that the firing of Trotz was to keep Lane Lambert from going to Detroit. Holy, okay, so assuming Jeff Merrick is right, assuming that he is 100% factually correct over here, this is a pretty interesting move. I didn't think that Lou Lamoriello would be that kind of guy to really make his decisions based off of what other teams are interested in doing. Because I get it, if there is a guy that is an assistant coach in your organization and you think he's a really talented assistant coach, so much to the point that you could make him the head coach, if there is a threat that says, okay, the Red Wings, Steve Yzerman, they just fired Blashill, they are looking for a new guy, and it appears that Lane Lambert is on their radar, it is interesting to me to see that Lou Lamoriello would go out on the route of firing his own head coach just to keep the assistant coach. He must be super on board with the idea of Lane Lambert being a better improvement in this respect if he's willing to sacrifice Barry freaking Trotz of all people just so that Lane doesn't go to Detroit. Now, of course, this means that Barry is available to go to Detroit instead, but there are other conversations that he could be having on all other fronts. You have Winnipeg, Vegas, as we said. There are a whole bunch of teams that will be interviewing this guy. But I do also think that this is also somewhat of a power move to kind of screw over the Wings in a very small way as well. Because, let's face it, Lane Lambert is a guy that even though he might be as talented as the Islanders believe him to be, he's not going to have that same star power nor that same reach on the market as a Barry Trotz is going to be. Lane, even though he does have himself a skill set that is useful and that has proven well at the NHL level in the past, he just isn't Barry Trotz. He doesn't have the Stanley Cups to his name in a head coach position. He is just the assistant guy. And so, if you tried to say to me that both Lane Lambert and Barry would be on the the free coaching market at the same time, I would totally believe it if you said that Barry Trotz had a lot more demand, making it a lot more difficult for Detroit to snag up either of these guys. I don't know though, that's just my opinion. I don't really have too much knowledge about all this coaching stuff, so maybe Lane Lambert would have been the hottest thing on the market had he actually gone to free agency or free agent coaching status, I guess. But you can let me know in the comments if that is the case indeed. I know we do have a lot of Islanders fans that tune into this channel. Hello, I make videos about Ratu, and I know you love those very much. So let me know in the comments all your thoughts about Barry Trotz and Lane Lambert over here. The idea that the Red Wings fired Trotz, kept Lambert, and they promoted him because they wanted to keep Lambert away from the Red Wings. And why exactly that might have been the case here. It's a very interesting little idea, but I felt like I wanted to make a video about it just because. So if you're an Islanders fan, let me know in the comments what it is about Lambert that makes him so special. Do you think my assessment is correct that he probably would have had less interest on the free agent pool had he been on the market in the same way that a Barry Trotz is? If you're a Red Wings fan, hey, talk to me in the comments as well. Do you still want Barry behind the bench for next season? We've had a whole bunch of names entering the conversation. I've seen people in my comments talking about guys like Igor Larionov and all that. There's a Mike Babcock situation here and there. There's a Tortorella conversation too. I personally don't think those last two should be the considerations that the Red Wings have, but either way, you can let me know in the comments all your thoughts about Lane Lambert, Barry Trotz, the coaching situation. This is also the first video I've actually made talking about Barry Trotz because, quite frankly, I just didn't make a video when the guy was fired in the first place. But I do know that there is a very big collective pool of teams that would likely go after him and his services. So, talk in the comments all your thoughts. Lane Lambert, Barry Trotz, the Red Wings, the Islanders. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.